Hello. Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, I met my soulmate. I knew everything there was to know. I had loads of money and lived happily ever after. That sounds perfect, right? You'd have no need to try, to think, to dream, to feel, to learn, to make plans for the future, to achieve or discover anything, because life would be perfect all of the time, and then there would be no point to exist. There are universal principles. What goes up must come down. We reap what we sow. We become what we think about. All these principles are according to contrasting energy, positive and negative. Energy flows where attention goes. I'm sure you've heard this all before. I'm not telling you anything new, but I've come to understand something, and I'm going to share it with you today. These universal principles are impossible to break. They're non-bendable. They're the foundations of physics. So, the journey of my own Greek Odyssey. I lived in Rhodes for 20 years. I had a successful design company, a family, a comfortable lifestyle, a beautiful home. Life was good. However, as you all know, a few years ago, Greece took a turn for the worse. The negative energy started to really affect me. As a creative thinker, being surrounded by negativity was suffocating. I started to become the person that I hated. Negative, complaining, moaning, and I couldn't shake it. I found conversations draining, the financial struggle draining, hell, just living was draining. I was unable to control my own thinking. I became depressed and fearful. So I had two choices. I could stay and slowly wither and die, or I could leave and position myself in a safer place to function again. It was a very, very difficult choice. I love this island. My heart is here. I grew up here. I had success here. I fell in love here. I remember the energy when I first arrived. So much happiness for so many years. But something deep inside me was telling me to leave, to step away, and to breathe new air. There's an expression, you can't get sick enough to help a sick person. And that's all I could hear in my head. My instinct was screaming at me to go. So with every ounce of courage, I got on the plane and I left. It almost broke me. It brought me to my knees. But through this experience, I started to understand something. After 2 years of living in the UK, in a strong, thriving economy, I started to notice a pattern. And it got me thinking. What was the real reason for their thriving? Was it purely financial? They have money, so they're happy? No. It's the belief system in the UK, the story they tell, the way they look at things. They're focused more on the positive. They attract what they want because of the way they think. And the best thing is they do it naturally and with no force or resistance. They maintain a positive attitude and they always look towards a solution. They stand up for what they believe in and they're unafraid to walk alone. The UK government reinforces core beliefs and values of its people, giving the necessary resources to succeed, and so they do. But it's the mood and optimism of the people that affect the outcomes. So now let's look at Greece. The general feeling here is predominantly negative. There's a feeling of hopelessness, fear of the future, anger, resentment, despair. Ask yourselves, do you think things will get better? Do you feel optimistic? Or do you just accept things as they are? Because what's the point? When you look at the reality of a situation, you see no further than the situation. You can't shake the negativity of what you see. We meet up with friends to validate our thinking. We commiserate with shop owners and business people. We talk to our families about the lack, the political game, the government, the taxes, constantly reinforcing the negative state of affairs. We say things like it's never going to get better. We don't have enough money. Greece is finished. Nothing will ever change. And there's no point to try. So how do we stop perpetuating the things we don't want from happening? How do we take our focus away from the lack, the futility, and the hopelessness? How do we change our focus? We need to tell a different story. We need to use our thinking as a superpower. What if we all started to talk about the wonderful things in Greece? Lift your spirits. Fill your hearts with appreciation for the weather, the environment, the food, the climate, the strength of family, the blessings all around you. People from all around the world come to visit Greece to taste this uniqueness. The beauty of nature, the exceptional light, the light-hearted spirit, the culture, warmth, and hospitality of the Greek people, the undeniably Greek philotimo. How beautiful is it to be part of this paradise? How amazing is it to be born Greek? Your heritage, your intelligence, you're able to share this with the whole planet. Beauty, creativity, and energy are all in your blood. Have you been taught that being responsible and realistic means keeping your eyes focused totally on the lack and the problems? I believe it's the reason why the problems are increasing. Perhaps focusing on solutions might help. We could use a more positive language. Life's pretty good. Everything is getting better. I have enough money. I always find my way. I have the power to change anything. I choose to be happy. I love my country. I love my family. And every day I feel better and better. If everyone would speak like this to each other, at home, in the coffee shops, in the tavernas, on the street, what do you think that would do for morale? If the collective focus was on the positive, the mood might shift. Greece, 3,000 years ago, produced some of our greatest thinkers. They focused on the possibilities, the great creations, the amazing capabilities of the human mind. Their thoughts allowed them to create unbelievable disciplines that have lasted to the present day. Economy, mathematics, democracy, medicine, philosophy, physics, athletics, theatre, architecture, astronomy, the list is exhaustive. No other culture has such a legacy. They believed in themselves and the power of discovery and thinking. They led by creating ideals and ideas. They were builders of life and of the world. This had a profound effect on their achievements. They were invincible. Their disciplines advanced humanity. The collective focus was on the positive, the success, the triumph, the creative idea, the blessed land, the land chosen by the gods. The energy of the climate, the land and its beauty created an atmosphere in which people could thrive in. Positive thinking produced world-changing results. So let's fast forward to today. Have you forgotten who you are? The earth that you stand on? The land is the same. The sun, the sea, the sand are the same. But your thinking has changed. And it took me leaving the island that I love to work out the difference. That it was the way thinking was being used here. What if people started limitless thinking again? Symposiums, workshops, brainstorming together. The 300 Spartans never thought they would lose against the Persians. An Olympiad never thought he wouldn't win over his opponent. Alexander the Great had a vision of conquering the world, and he made a pretty good attempt. So much success in so many areas because they believed. They spoke only of their dreams, their desires, and their vision of greatness. There was no doubt. My personal journey is parallel with Greece. I had it all, and then I thought I didn't. As a risk taker, a challenger, a creative thinker, adversity helps me to come up with ideas. How could I forget everything? How could I let everything go? Everything I'd worked so hard for, everything I had achieved, everything that I loved. Because I had a lesson to learn. I lost myself for a while. I went underground. I totally forgot who I was and who I am. Do you not think Greece has done the same? However, without this experience, I wouldn't have discovered my superpower. I started to tell a different story. I started to control my thoughts. I imagined things as I wanted them to be, constantly correcting the negative thoughts, words, fears, adjusting everything to a desired outcome. I practiced and practiced until I mastered my own mind. I remember the things I'd said in the past, as a child, as a teenager, as an adult. All the intentions, all the limiting beliefs, what I could do, what I couldn't do. And I realized all of them had come true. It was kind of comforting to know that whether my thoughts were good or bad, they were all of my own doing. More importantly, I understood my superpower were my thoughts. One good thing I imagined was doing a TED talk. Well, here I am. These 2 years have given me time to think without stress, pressure, or deadline. I've become even more creative. Huge ideas pop into my mind. I've been on a journey, and I see how thoughts, words, and focus create our reality. Now you know too that thinking and speaking in a positive, creative way can literally change an outcome. Walk away from negative people. Don't participate in negative conversations. Change your words, change your focus, hell, change your clothes. Do whatever it takes to stay positive. We must stay mindful of this every day because it's easy to get caught up in negative patterns, ruminating over and over and over again the reality of a situation. The media churns out doom and gloom on a daily basis, keeping its citizens stuck and dismal. Why do you listen to it? Turn it off. I wish they'd tell stories of success, triumph, and forward momentum. But you kind of like what they say, and it keeps you weak and fearful. And you're so much easier to control that way. I'm here to remind you who you are. You are Greeks. You are master storytellers. You are brave and smart and adaptable. You are powerful thinkers. You're the creators of modern civilization. Remember who you are. Let's change ourselves. Let's use positive language. Let's tell a different story. Let's commit to that story and make the most of thinking as a superpower. I'd like to put a big sign up at the airport. You are now entering the most positive place on earth. All negativity will be denied access. Imagine that. So this is a call to action. You are the modern day 300, Spartans. Start using your superpower. And I ask you to imagine this new discipline advancing humanity and lasting another 3,000 years. Thank you.